Very much, Alessandra. Yeah, I'll keep it very short, just some comments to wrap up. I'm not going to try and summarize what all the other panelists said, but just to take the opportunity to thank all the other panelists for their excellent presentations. Also to thank the members of the media who are present here with us in this room and online for their interest in this important story. And first and foremost, let me also thank all the migrants we've interviewed. We've interviewed 16,000 people over those 2 years who've taken the time to share their stories with us, often very traumatic stories. And without their stories, we would not have been able to produce a report like this. It's sometimes easy to forget if you read a report like this and you read all the statistics, that behind all those statistics there are the individual human stories of men, women and children. That said, this kind of data, reliable data, compelling evidence on the scale of these violations, where these violations are happening, who the perpetrators are, also stressing the importance of looking at the whole route, not at a single country, as some of the other panelists said as well, is important. It is an important first step towards action. That said, we should also ask ourselves the question, did we even need another report like this? Some of the other panelists also alluded to that. This is not the first report outlining all these abuses, and sadly, I'm afraid it won't be the last, but it should be the last. And I sincerely hope we won't sit here again in a year's time from now and present yet another report with all these statistics on this incredible level and unacceptable level of abuses that refugees and migrants are facing all along the routes towards North Africa. It is really unacceptable. I think there is a very clear set of recommendations, very good recommendations in this report that I really hope that the international community, international organizations, states will take on board to try and change this situation. Of course, there is an understanding that there is a need to control irregular migration. There's a need for migration management, but I think what we are currently seeing is clearly unacceptable. We've seen the incidents also happening yesterday. Also to stress that this report is presenting data from 2 years ago, from 2018, 2019, but we heard Ayla talking in the beginning. Nothing has changed in a way, and yesterday we've seen that 3 people were shot dead upon disembarkation in Libya. I don't think we needed much more evidence that Libya is not a safe place to return to people to, but I think the incident yesterday made it once again very clear that people should not be returned to Libya, because we know what will happen to many of them upon disembarkation, ending up in detention centers, facing all the violence that is documented in this report. I think one very important aspect of this report, also stressed by some of the other panelists, is the need to hold the perpetrators of these violations to account, to make sure that the victims feel safe to share information on who these perpetrators are, so that they can be prosecuted and brought to justice. I think this is a crucial element. It's not only the smugglers. Of course, we also focus a lot on the crimes that are committed by smugglers. In some cases, some countries, and for some types of abuse, we see they are the main perpetrators of violence. But as Vincent Cochetel also said, to a large extent, we also see that state officials are the perpetrators of violence. So when we say people who commit these violations should be brought to justice, I think that should include not only the smugglers, but also the state officials committing these violations. I think ultimately what we're still seeing too much when dealing with these type of migration and refugee flows is piecemeal solutions, or not even solutions, but ad hoc actions try to contain those flows. I think it's very clear that there's a need for more humane and smarter ways of dealing with migration that will lead to far less human suffering, that will help to uphold our principles and moral values also as the European Union. I think it's possible. It requires more courage and more leadership. But I think what this report once again, and it's not the first, as I said, once again makes very clear is that it's unacceptable, and this scale and this level of abuse and violations towards refugees and migrants has to stop. And I think this report really includes a very clear call for action for everybody involved. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this wrap-up comments, and that gives me also the opportunity to remind our friend journalists that tomorrow, 30th of July,